Welcome to the real journey of the entrepreneur. The journey of any entrepreneur begins with a decision, then writing down your vision, then the execution of that vision. It is not for the faint of heart. It is for those who understand how powerful your mind is and that you can truly create the life that you deserve. It does require a unique formula that includes belief in yourself, a lot of consistency, connecting with an OG, a lot of tears, missing out on a few events and things, and taking a whole lot of risks that will allow you to see your vision and dream come to pass. This journey of the entrepreneur is from the perspective of a wonderful mother, a business owner, whose goal is to break generational barriers and normalize the process of wealth building and financial wellness through entrepreneurship, all while creating a social and give back along the way. I am sharing this journey with you and invite you to share this process with me. Let's do this together. It's my own, but you have to feel comfortable to own it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? I will always support you.
Thank you.
Well, hello there, good people. We are so excited to have you join us for another episode of the real journey of entrepreneurship. I am thrilled to have join us for today one of the experienced and premier organizations that help to support our young people within their specific needs, specifically speech and therapy. I have had the opportunity to sit with my next guest for 14 weeks through a program, and we learn how important our businesses are in terms of growth, in terms of community, and in terms of advocacy. My name is Anita Pierce, and I'm the host and producer of The Real Journey of the Entrepreneurship. I am also the founder and CEO of 11375, where we are really intentional about supporting other small businesses and providing resources specifically to those who are startup. We specialize in providing strategies for government contracts. So if you're interested in learning more about our consulting practices, please do not hesitate to reach out to us at 11375. We are on all of the social platforms, so please, at 11375, please reach out to us. But without further ado, I want to bring to the stage a really gifted and talented leader in the industry. Not going to completely say the whole entire bio because I usually don't tell the best stories as it relates to those who are interviewed. So usually I have them tell them stories because as the author of our lives, we are the ones who are the best at telling our stories. So I'm going to bring my next guest to the table. Hey, Alena, how are you?
Hi, Anita. So nice to see you, and thank you for giving me this opportunity.
No, thank you for saying yes. You didn't have to say yes, but thank you. So
Thank you for having me.
tell us a little bit about what you are engaged in. Speech language pathology, your name of your business, Speech Kids New York. Like, what does that entail? Tell us how you got started.
Sure. I graduated in 2014, 10 years ago. I became a speech language pathologist. I'm bilingual in Russian, and it's always been my mission to service underprivileged kids. I've been working as a speech therapist for 10 years. 5 years ago, I started my company. I found that there is a need for me to advocate not just for the children, but also for speech therapists in order to increase the amount of therapists who can service children because there is a shortage in New York City. So my goal has always been to service kids who really are underserviced. Talking about Harlem, Bronx, certain areas of Brooklyn, where we have a lot of charter schools. In New York City, there are over 275,000 unserviced children. And finally, we got a proposal to submit a bid to New York City DOE and offer them a rate that the therapist would want to go and work in those neighborhoods that haven't been serviced for 10, 15 years. We
Mm.
finally signed a contract with New York City DOE, and as a result, we already covered half of the schools that they need immediate coverage for. And I'm very excited for both for children and for therapists who can work there, and to that will allow us to have more students to get services they deserve under the law that they're supposed to have under IDEA law.
Okay, so let's talk. First of all, congratulations, right?
Thank
Let's
you.
let's let's start with that because I know personally the experience of when you are figuring out a solution for your child, whether they need therapy or whether they not, or whether it's all in your head. It's really nice to really have that as a know that that's a resource. Now, for parents that are having trouble, meaning they're on a fence, they may decide that that's not really for them because they are afraid. How do you manage or navigate or help the parents, to say that this is something that your child actually needs to help them in the long term?
I think, first of all, I would start off with New York City has a mix of different nationalities, different cultures, and in many of those cultures, it's standard to think that if the child gets any kind of services, even speech therapy, that does not include any medications,
Mm.
they would assume that it's something wrong with their child. Well, to get extra help and to help those students to get better at school, to increase their academical performance, and as a result, maybe in the future to get a better job, to be able to express themselves. That's what a change we make. We also, once the kids get services, many of them are entitled to get extra time to complete their tasks, such as regents exams, such as end of the year exam, and that's all of that will help those students. In addition, there are many teachers in regular public schools, for example, that are not trained to work with special education students. And that's why when a therapist comes in, such as speech therapist, physical therapist, occupational therapist, she would also help the teacher, not just the parent, to know what to expect from that child, how to help him. Altogether, it's a teamwork. We work all together. But of course, it will not happen until a parent gives a permission for his or her child to receive those services. And it is crucial to understand that there's no harm from therapy when somebody plays with them and does one-on-one therapy or even small group, 2 to 3 students, there's no harm whatsoever. You can always negotiate with a therapist to make sure this happens at the time that the child can leave the classroom. It doesn't have to be during his favorite art class, for example. That can be all negotiable. But I think it's very important for parents to understand the importance of what change we can make with therapy. It's important to understand that there's so many students in the last, I don't know, 20 plus years that were not getting services at all. And many of them can end up being on welfare because they can't get a job, because they never were able to work on skills that were missing. And sometimes it could be a couple of years. We can't really give a prognosis how long it's going to take, but it changes life for those students. I personally had experience of working with students who, for example, at the age of 10, he could not pronounce S sound. And after working with him for months, next school year, he was in middle school. He comes back to bring me flowers and say, thank you so much. And he told me a few sentences with a letter S where he pronounced it perfectly. It changed his life because he stopped talking. He stopped raising his hand in the classroom. Just as an example, there are many success stories like that, which is why therapists do their job.
So as a speech therapist, so I want the audience to be really clear that you're not um, a mental health professional.
No.
Um, you're not a psychologist, but you're in the space of speech, specifically for speech therapy.
Yes, correct. So speech therapy covers speech and language therapy. Speech would be examples, cluttering. That's when a child talks too fast, stuttering, or mispronunciation of sounds. While language therapy covers any kind of comprehension problems, when child listens or reads to a story and he doesn't understand what he's reading about, or when there's a problem decoding, he struggles with reading, putting sounds together. When the child has autism, when the child has attention deficit disorder. We work with children with emotional problems as well as sometimes they shut down and don't express themselves. So we work on expressive language, on receptive understanding language, and we also work on social skills, which is known as pragmatics. So we cover a lot, and obviously students who struggle with their vocabulary, it could be due to the fact that they speak multiple languages at home or their vocabulary is very limited to their age. That's all covered under speech and language therapy. And that was a great question. Thank you, Anita.
And so I also want to follow up because you work in areas that have been traditionally underserved, right?
Correct.
And a lot of those markets um, service specifically those who come from the Hispanic community, Black community, um,
Yes.
you know, Asian community specifically. When I think about those areas that you initially mentioned,
Yes.
so do you have therapists that are um, that you hire that are reflective of those communities that you serve, or like what does that look like in terms of the child's experience in participating in with your therapist?
Correct. Actually are from that area, or they represent Hispanic or African American community themselves. That's the easiest, of course, situation. It's not always perfect, but sometimes it could be somebody like me. I'm Eastern European, but that's my mission. I enjoy working with, I am bilingual. And even though I don't speak Spanish, I understand how a mind of a bilingual child works better than somebody who only speaks English, because I had to learn English as a second language. And some of those students learn two languages at the same time. Also, our therapists who are bilingual, they're certified in multiculturalism. They're supposed to take it as a class to understand what are typical, for example, sounds or cultural differences. Let me just bring an example. In Asian culture, they don't keep eye contact.
Right.
While many teachers in public school will be like, look at me when you talk, look at me when you talk. And it's completely wrong because that's not the culture they grew up. And those are the differences I mean when I say like the provider has to be comfortable working in that culture. We also oftentimes have to provide training if she's not familiar with the culture, or provide resources for the therapist to understand what she's going to have to deal with.
And so transitioning to the CEO hat, right?
Yes.
What does that look like for your day to day? So you now have this, robust staff, you now have this new, exciting opportunity as a business owner and as a CEO. What does that look like? Would you tell someone else, please do this type of work because it is, and there you go.
Sure. So it is crazy for now. I'll be very honest. It's a lot of work. I'm probably like you, someone who works, like let's say 7:30 in the morning until 7:30 at night, Monday through Friday, and I do have certain limited hours on weekends when I have to do something when it's urgent from
Right.
time to time. I do take time off because sometimes your brain just shuts down. And luckily, because of school year, I have that opportunity. When there is a break, there is a break. But I will say, I find it to be a great advantage to be CEO who's a therapist on practice. Why? Because when I interview my therapist, they can ask me specific questions that no one else, unless they have experience being a therapist, can answer. And many of them are drawn to me just because of that,
Mm.
because they understand that I know this inside out. Before I opened my agency, for example, I worked for 8 different other agencies to understand how they function.
Mm.
What should I pay attention to, not just as a therapist, but business side of it is different. Of course, in the future, I hope to um, be CEO and hire supervisors and just get involved in situations when it's absolutely necessary. But I'm still growing my business at this point, and I hope I will always be growing. And I also hope that I can submit proposals like I submitted for the Bronx to RFPs for Brooklyn, in particular to RFPs for Upper Manhattan, where we also have the need as high as it is in the Bronx. I hope there are going to be more opportunities for those parents to find therapists when they didn't have therapists in some occasions for 10, 15 years.
And that's very hard to hear. Like I know that that's true, but
Yeah.
it's just still hard to hear that those specific communities that you're targeting did not have these resources, knowing that it will be helpful to the young people in their overall learning and growth. So I'm excited to see, that you are a part of the solution to help that grow and develop. I wanted to also ask about, you know, in terms of like the leveraging business solutions and additional relationships. So you're a speech therapist, right? You have a very specialized, activities that you engaged in. How do you leverage your business to work with other businesses? Like, what does that look like for your referral process, if you have one now?
Sure, yes. Currently, I do work with other business owners who own, for example, physical therapy practice, occupational therapy, counseling. Um, I even refer a case to someone we went to school together in Goldman Sachs, who is a neuropsychologist. I always look for a proper referral. But at the same time, in the future, I do hope that I will expand and begin hiring physical therapists and occupational therapists. That's what I'm in the process as a next step.
Okay,
That's
awesome.
the most typical: counseling, physical therapy, and occupational therapy, because when we do evaluations, we have to see all of those domains.
And so I have a curious question,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
So when you made this decision, right, after, doing or gaining your experience, right? What did you learn that you can offer that's different from the other organizations that you may have experienced or done research on? What do you offer that makes your organization special than others?
That's a great question. For me, number one was bilingual therapy. As a bilingual speaker, my heart has always been in helping students who uh, need help because they don't understand the language. So
Mm.
that's been always my specialty. Currently, we have therapists working in 10 different languages in New York City. That's one. The second one was always New York City has, since I graduated, they always been complaining that they don't have enough therapists. So while there are thousands and thousands of kids, and as you can imagine, after COVID, the amount of students who need therapy got went up by definition,
Mm.
probably doubled, and we don't have enough therapists. And what happened was, because unfortunately New York City um, did not provide the best compensative rate for us for therapists, many therapists started working online in different states. They
Mm.
continue to live in New York, but they work in other states for financial reasons.
Right.
So my goal was what do I do? How do I make a difference to create better opportunities for those therapists to attract them to stay here instead of going to other states? So that's been always my mission. Another thing I do not see the need of renting a $10,000 office in Manhattan so the therapist can say, "Oh, we can meet you at the office." Whenever my therapists want to meet, I'll take them out for lunch. I'll take them out for, coffee, dinner,
Mhm.
rather than pay $10,000 a month's rent and lowering the compensation for my therapist. I just found that it's not necessary. It's an unnecessary expense.
Mm.
So, because all my therapists, for example, they work at schools and preschools. So to have an office is really just a check mark. It's not something that is required in my field. And after COVID, many companies switched to the same because they realized there is no need for that.
Right.
So finding those opportunities, like supervising them myself, for example, I would offer them higher rate compensation than somebody who hires a supervisor. So finding therapists, what do I do to attract therapists? As much as I want to help students, I have to treat my employees the right way and be good by them and follow their interests, and what can I do to attract more and to treat them fairly. That was always my mission as well, because those two are connected. I cannot help more students if I don't properly treat or attract more therapists.
So you bring up an interesting model. Um, well, eh, from what I hear is that you're really community centered in terms of those who are in need. Like they do not have to pack up their bags to come see you in an office. You are bringing your qualified therapists into the school where they can have direct access to the youth, young people, to make impact, to create familiarity, to provide deeper support and connection in their level of comfort. I have another question. Do you also provide sessions off school sites, like at homes? Like, is that a
Yes,
pathway that's offered as well?
yes, we do that using health insurances of those students,
Mhm.
because unfortunately those who have Department of Education voucher has it wasn't the case for the Bronx. We haven't started that yet because for them the priority is it has to be school or preschool. For
Ah,
students who have a health insurance, we have a different program that where the provider will come to their house, or a mutual point, like for example a public library. Some parents do not want therapy to take place at their house, but I feel like it also provides me an opportunity to find more therapists who will come to the house, as opposed to renting an office and paying rent and lowering their compensation.
and also, my curiosity is getting the best of me. So, for a new parent,
Right.
um, who may see some challenges within their child and do not know where to go. What are the first steps that they need to do to navigate the system? Because one of the things that I find is that there's a lot of extreme levels of red tape that exists when you're looking to either get your child the necessary services or you just don't know what you don't know. How would you advise a parent to start?
So it depends. It's a great question, Anita. It depends on what age is the child. So if they are from 0 to 3 years old, under three, they need to contact local office of Department of Health.
Okay.
Early intervention is known as early intervention. Those students will, if they qualify for therapy, they have to have 25% delay in one area, for example, speech therapy,
Mhm.
33% in one area or 25% in multiple areas.
Okay.
If after evaluation, which the process will take up to 45 days, and that's something to understand timing. So after evaluation is complete, Then they contact Department of Health again if they qualify, and they will provide them a list of agencies or
Oh,
companies to contact.
okay.
Or they have a social worker that's working with them, and they say, well, this one will have a therapist for you. When it comes to students who are preschool, 3 to 5 years old, they need to contact local CPSE office, Committee of Preschool Special Education. So
Right.
they have a different districts under geographical area of New York City. There are 32 districts. That all information can be looked up, but they can also speak to the director of preschool and say, I would like to start evaluation of my child because of A, B, C, D reasons. And of course, confirm that with the teacher. Sometimes the parent's perspective and the teacher's perspective are not the same. But even though this parent can still request it. For preschool education, they do have to do evaluation has to take place at school. If the parent says, I refuse for school to know about evaluation, Committee of Preschool Education, known as Department of Education, will not compensate for that. So at that point, it's only out of pocket or using their health insurance if they cover that, right? But if they do an evaluation at a preschool and they qualify for that, then that's the same process. That's something where I come in, where agencies come in. The issue we had is that many preschools have one or two students who need speech therapy, and then because of how the New York City system works, the therapist is not compensated for travel time,
Mm.
for paperwork time. They don't want to commute for one or two kids. At schools, it's much easier because most schools, especially public schools, they must have a speech therapist on staff,
Okay.
which is opposed to Catholic schools that don't have to. And then it becomes a challenge. Charter schools don't have to, but they usually have a lot of students who need speech therapy or occupational therapy or physical therapy. So for school age students, the parent can reach out to Committee of Special Education of their borough, and then borough gets divided into multiple districts as well. But that would be the first step, speaking to the principal. Then if the principal doesn't know, they can look it up themselves. Usually principals would be familiar with the system because it has through the same process.
Okay, that's really helpful. So, in wrapping up our session, you provided our listeners with a phenomenal solution because a lot of times as parents, we can get in our own way and thinking we, know best when there really is a challenge that we need to support our children or child with. So, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day. And just in wrapping up, I just wanted to just know, are there any additional tips that you can offer, for those, one, who may want to do what you do, and two, just in general, how do you manage success within your business?
For those who want to do speech therapy, who want to become a therapist themselves, I highly recommend in their undergraduate program, there's a master's degree that's required that takes 2 to 2.5 years. I recommend to observe a speech therapist, to do observation hours to see what we actually do, and then decide, is that something I'm interested in? Before following up, before you actually apply for a graduate program,
Hmm.
because you want to make sure that's what you want to do. For the outsider, what we do oftentimes it looks like, oh, she just plays a game with a child.
Mm.
That's what it looks to an outsider who doesn't, understand what we actually do, how we help students to understand what we target in a session. But for business owners, I think it's you have to understand the business inside out to know whether you want to do that or not. Because oftentimes therapists, they just want to do provide therapy. They're not looking for any business part of it.
Mm.
And you probably been around Anita those, even doctors, like, many of them just want to deal with patients. So you have to have that personality that is interested in both. For me personally, advocating for students and therapists became a, a priority, and I still provide therapy, but I understood the need of advocating,
Mm,
and it became my mission for me personally.
so
But I
awesome.
think we all different. Everybody finds what they want to do.
So awesome. So I am going to share your website on
Thank you.
speechkidsny.com. Um, Definitely, if you're in the market, the market is not the appropriate word, but if you are in need or your child is in need for, therapist, speech therapy support, please consider speechkidsnyc.com. Out of New York City. Alena will be able to tell you if there's work that they do outside of New York State, but predominantly in New York State. But I think, are you licensed in any other state that in other work that you do as well?
Right. So right now we're expanding that. It's not that I have to be licensed. It's the therapist has to be licensed in that state to provide therapy. But it's
Okay,
very easy process.
okay, awesome. So speechkidny.com. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to share your resources for those parents who may have questions or concerns. But before you go, quick question,
Yes.
really fun. What is your preference? Do you prefer to wear shoes or sneakers?
Sneakers.
I get it.
Me personally, it's because I work with kids and it's like you don't want to be in heels or anything. The shoes have to be comfortable. Every half an hour when we go pick up, drop off the kid, there's usually schools have a lot of stairs, like five flights of stairs. Sneakers for sure.
Sneakers for sure. Awesome. See, I'm getting it out of everyone. It's either the sneakers or the shoes, but for the most part, it's been pretty consistent. Sneakers. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Please don't hesitate to check out speechkidsny.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anita. Have a lovely day.
All right, take good care.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye bye. So it's really awesome when you have the opportunity to have a network of colleagues that are doing different things. Some of the tips that Alena offered was, if you're interested in getting into this space, if you're in undergrad, make sure that you meet an OG or an original guardian to observe the type of work before you make a full educational commitment. I think that was really key. And as a business owner, sometimes you have to think about it. Where do you want to fit within this business? There is an actual business side that you need to manage and navigate. But in this specific area, understanding the business of speech therapy. And one of the things that Alena and I also are really deeply passionate about on her end is advocating for the community that you want to see improve. So I am, again, just really grateful when I have talented individuals who have a deep different space that they're in speechkidsny.com. You can check out the website, and also, if you feel comfortable, need the resources, they are there. I'm also going to share that if you are interested in, gaining access to the information through 11375, we are on the social platforms. You can like, share, and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. And we're on YouTube. So please don't forget to like, share, and follow us on those specific spaces. And so, on that note, I want to thank you all for another phenomenal episode of The Real Journey of the Entrepreneurship. I am looking forward to have you joining us in other spaces. Take good care. When I think about motherhood and the space of entrepreneurship, it is two of the most scariest things that anyone who has chosen to be a mom can do. I love being a mother. I love being able to smile, share, grow, have my CEO in the making observe what it's like to be a business owner, to be able to use the things that are coming out of my mind and create, being in meetings, doing community work, and creating a space that we want to create for long-term wealth. Both are equally challenging. Both are equally scary, but the beauty about being in this space of duality lets me know that when I see her smile, when I see her laugh, when she challenges me to be a better person, I know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Welcome to 11375. My name is Anita Pierce, and I am your Chief Experience Officer. At 11375, we offer strategic alignment solutions specific to you and your business goals, and also connecting everything with social impact. So if you are looking for a really amazing organization where we help you to focus your strategy and connecting it with social impact, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are on all the social platforms, and you can contact us at 11375.